Hi, welcome back. The Worcestershire cabinet maker, Jamie here. You know me for baguettes and you know me for restoring furniture and cameras and all sorts of things and tools. But in this video, I've never changed my mind as much as I did about this piece of furniture. So if you've got anything to say at the beginning, just hold back, because as we go through this, there's two chairs to repair. As we go through these, you'll see me have a change of mind, and it's a change of mind because of one person that made a difference to how I feel about these chairs, and it's not the customer. So I hope you enjoy this one. Please stay subscribing and like, share, comment, put something in the comments because it makes such a difference. Thank you, and I'll see you in a bit. Cheers. Hello and welcome back. There's a difference, yes. I got told by some youngsters that I was an old man. And that made me look in the mirror, and I was just like, oh, what am I doing? And I was spending so much time. I'm going to play a little game on this one. And the little game is, see if you can spot the continuity errors, because there's going to be one or two at least. Enjoy. I've seen these two chairs before. They're from somewhere like Singapore, Taiwan, somewhere like that. Far Eastern. Not really very good structurally. That's a cosmetic mitered leg. It's not meant to take weight. I actually seen these as tables with backs on to turn them into chairs. But that glue is very brittle, and it looks like it's gap filling as well. Most of the structure has been taken out of this leg, and I've got to try and fix it. If I've not shown you before, I'll show you in a minute. But this chair is just not very friendly to repair. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to scrape all the glue off. Listen to this. That's the sound of how brittle the glue is and how the timber is. It's not good. Yep, still removing glue. This was about 15 minutes of me trying to cut away and chip away at these lumps of glue that hadn't really adhered to the timber very well. So I don't know how all these things are, but these chairs are, but not the best of glues, not the best of timbers, not the best structure. And one of the main problems with a broken joint, it has to go together the way it came apart. Blimey, that's a bit of a beard you've got there, mate. So yeah, here's me checking to make sure I've removed all the glue and the joint actually can go back to where it originally was. Yeah, interesting. Let's have a look and see. So yeah, the miter's gone pretty well. It's not cramped up, so it will go together a bit better than this. But that's not bad. That's not bad at all. And that looks all right. Yeah. Yeah. I think this will work. I think this is the best I can do. Right, so I've got the sash clamps ready. That's going to go across there, like that. I'm going to get a sash clamp here, sash clamp there, and then I'm going to put a sash clamp from here across that way and try and get another one across that way, so that I've got downward pressure to get it back into where it was split, and I've got compression that way for the face to glue against that one, compression that way for that face inside there to glue against that tenon. It isn't really a tenon. And I think that's the best I can do under the circumstances. Right, let's start gluing up. So I'm using a strong glue, and I'm using a coffee stick with a point at one end and just a round on the other, and I'm spreading it in amongst all of the cracks and grooves, and I'm pushing it down. I have to push it down because of the way it broke, so it's about getting it right and then removing all the glue, as much excess glue as possible. So carefully turn it over, get the chair leg in correctly so I'm happy with it. I can move the chair around, so this piece of timber is going to be able to cramp underneath the lip of the bench. That's why you should have a lip on the end of your bench. And I can move the chair around and get it all lined up so that I'm happy with the way that it's parallel to the other legs, if you know what I mean, so there's no twist there. and then I'll go cramping front to back to try and get some pressure on that joint there. Makes all the difference. And then a couple of pads, and I'm going to pack there like that, and then tighten up across the back to ensure that the joint works right. It's glues in everywhere, which is a pain. And then I've got a couple of G clamps to go on to help hold in place. My theory behind these chairs is, when you look at the construction, this up to here is a table. None of this travels through, but as you can see here, this has come away now because I've clamped this down and it's butting onto the end of that leg coming through. So hopefully tomorrow that will be able to come back up. I'll sort that out. Very strangely, very weirdly, I mean, look at all this colour. It's not a pretty sight. We can't actually see the joint now. This clamp here is working its way around there and covering that side. That clamp there is going around to the back, so it's covered all the way around now. So all those loose split ends now are all glued in. So I use MDF or plywood for packers, and then when I take all the clamps off, some of these will be stuck to the wood and the MDF will fall apart and the plywood's thin rubbish. So it should be reasonably easy to get that off. There's a bit of glue in there still. I can't get to that yet. I'll have to wait until tomorrow, but that is it for now. Lovely day out. So the chair's all glued up. I'm just walking the dog. Chair's all glued up and it's looking pretty good. So what happened next was I met somebody came into my workshop. The festival was going on at the glass centre. The festival of glass was going on, and a young Hong Kong girl comes in, starts chatting to me about the chairs. She tells me about the on the seat rail. She tells me that it's the clouds. The design is clouds. Sorry, I'm turning around. The dog's tying me in circles. So it's cloud on the edge of the seat. The motif in the back is interesting. The motif in the back is about longevity, long life, good health. It's almost about going back in time, parents, grandparents. It's a lovely motif. She was going to write it down for me and she didn't write it down. So I think it's a little bit more complicated than it's easier to feel probably than it is to explain exactly what it means. As we were talking about it, she'd seen some in because she'd worked for an antique company and she'd sold some of those chairs and seen some of those chairs around, but non-broken. And I didn't really get, why aren't you seeing them broken? And then she says to me, we don't lean against the back of the chair like you do in the West. We don't lean against it. I said, so you don't slob around like we do. So it's our fault that it's broken. And she said, I'm not saying that. Very diplomatic. I'm not saying that, but they don't use the backrest. Now that changes things. It would explain why she's not seen any broken. But there is something else as well. The brittleness of the timber. I'm going to mention that at the end because somebody else opens my eyes to that. So, and then I actually find out towards the end, I'll let you know, where after the second chair, when the customer comes to pick it up, he'll tells us this, which I find brilliant. So it answers all the questions. Right, let's get back to cleaning that chair up and sorting out the way it looks, the way it's finished. Well, I'm back and it's time to take these clamps off and see just how good it looks under there. Clamps removed, let's have a look. So the joint there looks pretty good. Joint here, very good. Got some glue to remove, got some packer to remove. That's still stuck on there, that's all right. But actually the external, the visual bit looks good. Now the problem now is that, which I think I can just raise this part because this is, as I've said, in two parts. So I think I can pull that back up. I'll have a look at that in a minute. That's essentially the leg on, and I don't want to try it because, as I've said, this is cosmetic. It's not the strongest joint. That's why it's broken, and it could easily have broken there, and it could quite easily have broken there or there. This chair to me is not very good at all, but there you go. Anyway, clean that up, get all the glue off, get all the pads off. That's what that looks like underneath. Looks like I could do with a load of wax. But if I wax this one, then he'll have 5 other chairs, or 4, because there's another one there. I have 4 more chairs that need waxing, so I'm not going to do that. Just give it a clean. So out comes a sharp chisel, very carefully removing the glue from around the joint and across the joint. And what I don't want to do here is I don't want to go into the finish. I don't want to take any of the, when I say finish, what you might call varnish. I don't know what finish it is, but it could be, it's some sort of varnish. What I don't want to do is take any of that varnish off. I don't want to go through that finish because the wood will be a different colour underneath, and that's the last thing I want to do because it'll just create a whole load of extra work that I don't really need. So carefully removing the glue at this stage. Right, soft wax, some pigment and some dark wax, and this split in here is actually travelling up a fault, and there's a knot line there, so it's not an easy one to disguise, but I don't want to spend hours trying to make this look like it doesn't exist when really it's underneath. It's going to be down there. Let's put it up. Let's put it up there. It's down there and it's in shadow already, so you're not going to see it. The outside looks pretty good. I'm reasonably pleased with that without spending hours on it. I can't afford a mixture of I can't sand it back. I've got it as flush as I can get it. It's pretty good. There's a little tiny step, but it's not the end of the world. These have got little tiny steps, especially there. I can feel that one already because of the movement, because of the angle of the. This is not. This is frustrating for me. Really frustrating. But there you go. And then the customer comes to pick them up. He comes to collect them, and I tell him about some of the things I've found, and he tells me they were from Singapore. He lived in Singapore for a number of years, and he brought them back with him. They were expensive chairs, they weren't cheap. He also thinks that the humidity levels over there is the humidity the reason why it's more brittle over here and maybe not over there. That would explain why the timber is brittle, but the joints still aren't brilliantly done. It's not a structural joint, but they wouldn't have to be as structural if their posture was correct and they weren't leaning against them and doing all of that we do. So no wonder the girl hadn't seen any of these that needed restoring or that were broken. So then I say to the customer, well, how do they break? What's the reason they break? And he said, it's my grandson. It's my 16-year-old grandson. We've told him, and it's the way he gets out of the chair. But he also said the chairs are on a thick Chinese rug, and because of that, you can't get out of the chair as easy because it's not sliding on the floor. So that's the problem. They're not sliding, they're digging in, the weight's going against the back, and you end up with a broken chair leg. So there are some of the answers. There are the reasons why these chairs aren't very happy. So I did suggest that he gives his grandson the bill for the chairs because it's not been a quick, cheap, easy repair. They are awkward, and people will say in the comments, I mean, you say what you think in the comments, people will say, yeah, well, you should have used a dowel, you should have used this. the structural integrity, in my opinion, has taken away. I've had these chairs around for the last 2 months trying to figure a better way of repairing them, and I can't find a better repair than what I've done. Well, it's finished. Let's show you what it looks like. So, all done and dusted. Clean that up. All of this looks pretty good, feels good, feels pretty good. I'm pleased with it, even though I'm not a fan of it. There are weird, not particularly nice things going on, but anyhow, that's done. It looks good. I did notice, look, that this panel has shrunk so much that, yeah, shows how much red stain they put on it. Look at that. Hey ho, all done. All done and dusted and polished. Well, I haven't polished, I've just wiped some of the cloth over. So if you've enjoyed the video, you've enjoyed what I've done here, then I do other things like that, and tools, and the briquettes over there, and all sorts of things in my workshop. So please like, subscribe, share, comment. Makes all a difference. And there's buy me a coffee if you guys think it's of value and you think it's worth a couple of quid or whatever, then I'd really appreciate that. Thanks for watching. Cheers.